how's it going, guys? Welcome back to another episode here on the G's Footage Garage. So today we're gonna start working on Boogieman again. It's been sitting for a little while now. It's been over 2 months now that this car has just literally sat in this state, which is kind of sad. It has a bunch of stuff all over it. Yeah, such a nice car to be just stored away like this. So today we're gonna start working on it, and hopefully we could get pretty far into it. So this is what I have going on. This car used to have shorty headers, CA cat deletes, and Borla 606 mid pipes. Made it to the stock MPP. I got very lucky. My friend was gonna demod his car, so I picked up his Stainless Works long tube headers, his 3-inch X pipe, and also a one-piece drive shaft by, I don't know if it's a G-Force or Drive Shaft Shop. I'm not sure. I would have to look into that. Nevertheless, it's a one piece, and it's should be stronger than the one we have now. What I want to do today to get the ball rolling is install the headers first, because I don't have anything on there now. And then I also want to mention that you guys see here on this header gasket, if you guys can tell, there's a black spot. You guys see that black spot there? This car had this little tick that was driving me nuts, and I thought it was something very serious. But when I pulled the shorties out to sell them, I noticed this. So we went ahead and ordered some new header gaskets for it, and hopefully that solves that little ugly tick noise that I was hearing. So right now I still have the spark plugs on there. These long tubes are a little bit harder to install than the ones that I had on there before. The shorty black hearts are super easy to put on. These long tubes are really a pain in the butt to do. So I'm going to go ahead and remove the spark plugs now to make sure that I don't break them, because they're fairly new and I want to reuse them. So I'm going to start by doing that, taking off the plugs. And it's a little bit more tight now, because now we have, you know, the blower, all the intercooler stuff. So it's a little bit tight. I'm just going to move the stuff to the side as much as I can. But yeah, let's get wrenching. And to remove the spark plugs is super easy. All you need is a 5/8 socket, spark plug socket. I like to use a tiny little extension. Usually helps get the job done pretty easily. I like to break it loose by hand first, because it ensures that we don't break a plug or anything like that. And these are coming off pretty easy because I always put anti-seize on my plugs, and it helps them from not getting seized on there. Alright, break them loose. We can quickly take them off. If you ever plan on reusing your spark plugs, you always want to inspect them very good. Make sure that you don't have any cracks, because if you have any cracks, it's going to have a misfire and it's going to drive horrible, and you're going to be chasing your tail trying to figure out what the issue is. So I like to always, if I'm going to reuse the plug, give them a good inspection, and also double check the gap. But we'll get to that a little later. Alright, so I removed the spark plugs off of this side. Now I'm going to move over to the other side. It's a lot easier to do this, removing the spark plugs right now, because there's obviously no header there. And you know, I removed the reservoir and all that stuff. I didn't vlog any of that stuff. You guys get the big picture here. So let's move along. And same thing. Break them loose by hand. You guys can see it was basically effortless to loosen them up, and that's because we always use never see. Once I've broken them loose with the ratchet, I'm not opposed to using a electric ratchet, because I already broke them loose. So I'm just gonna Okay, so now that we removed the spark plugs, now I have a little bit more space. I also have a little bit of, how should I say, well, now I have no chance of breaking the spark plugs, so now I can make sure I can reuse them. And I've inspected the plugs and they look pretty good. They don't look broken or anything, so we should be fine reusing them. Of course, we're gonna check them for gap, make sure they're good. With boosted cars, you usually go a little bit tighter on the gap. We're gonna keep them around, 22, 24, I believe. That's what my tuner recommended. So we'll make sure these are pretty tight and they look good. All right. So to get the Stainless Works long tubes on the driver's side, it's fairly simple. All you gotta do is remove the steering column, and that one goes in, not too bad. However, the passenger side is the one that's a pain in the butt. And the way I've gotten these to go in the past is to loosen up the transmission mount, the motor mounts, and remove the valve cover. And then jack up the motor up a little bit, and it should give us enough play to get the passenger header in. And I know it sounds kind of funny removing the valve cover, but I'll tell you what, it's a lot easier to remove the valve cover than to remove the entire motor mount. So all I do is just loosen it so it could allow me to lift the engine up. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so let's do the passenger side first, since I find it to be the most complicated for sure on my car, because it's my car is supercharged, so it seems to be a little bit tighter in this area with the E85 sensor and all. So first things first, let's remove the coil pack. Ginger tea. Gotta take care of yourself or else nobody will. Let's believe that. First things first will be loosening up the coil packs so we could unplug them. Alright. Okay, so once we loosen the coil pack, we should be able to pull it out. There it is. Alright. There's a little extension here. So we'll go ahead and grab a little shorty 10, see if it makes it a little bit easier. It sure did give us a little bit more space than we needed. So for the last one, we're going to go ahead and use a wrench. Grab a handy little zip tie here, and then we'll zip tie it out of the way. Yeah, we could use this over here. Let's see here. This might work. Yeah, that works. Perfect. So now that we've done that, before we remove the valve cover, let's go ahead and remove this nut here. Let me put a light at it here. And the motor mount there. That's your motor mount right there. We're gonna remove that bolt on both sides. That nut. Sorry. Remove that nut right there. Should make our lives a lot easier. I believe that's an 18. Yep, that's an 18. We'll go ahead and use the impact. Just like that. Ta-da! Easy breezy. Alright. It's one motor mount. Now let's get this motor mount loose over here. So we're going to remove that nut right there. As you guys can see, I already removed the steering column. Alright. Okay, so now we should have the engine free. So we loosen the transmission mount. There's 2 bolts, I believe, or 3. We'll go down there, we'll loosen those up. They'll allow us to, you know, put like a nice big piece of wood under the oil pan, and then gently lift it up a couple inches. And that'll give us oh wait, and then we'll remove the valve cover, and that should give us enough room to get that long tube in. So moving along. Okay guys, so to my dismay, I don't have a piece of wood to lift the engine, so I'm gonna cut one right now. I have a few scrap right here, spiders and everything. Okay, so we have a block of wood, and this is a nice block of wood. I'm gonna lift the engine from the oil pan, so don't do what I do. It's probably the wrong way. Sometimes you gotta be a rebel. That's one way to get dirty. All right. Okay, so now we're under the car. As you guys can see here, I have no exhaust. It's gone. I sold it. It was a good exhaust. Borla 60606. It did really good for us. We chopped it off right there at the MPP. You guys bought those new BMR suspension. We're excited about that. But yeah, let's loosen up this transmission. Okay, so right here where you have your transmission, there's a cross member, and this cross member is gonna have, let's see here, one, looks like two bolts. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and loosen these up. I don't think we have to take them off all the way. I don't think I did that last time. So we find a good spot for the light here. That looks like 13, 14. So let's go take a look. All right, it's a 15. All right, so these, I'm not gonna take them all the way out. I don't think we have to. I just backed them up, backed them off a little bit to give us enough play to go up and down, and we're ready to lift this engine up. Perfect. Let's see here. Okay. Alright, so you guys can see there, picked up the motor mount right there. So let's give it a shot. See if we can get this bad boy in there. Let's give this a shot. Let's see. Well, the problem we have here is, no, actually this side I got through the top. No, I'm tripping. I got it in through the top. Yeah, that's what I did. Now I remember. Okay, so now that I have lifted up the engine a little bit, it's time to remove the valve cover, and we're going to attempt to put the header in through the top. So let's see how that works. truth. Lifted up the engine a little bit, remove the valve cover, and here goes nothing. Here goes nothing. In. Bam, guys, we did it. There's a little trick right there. Lift up the engine a little bit and remove that valve cover, give you that little extra little tenth that you need, and bam, you don't have to take out the motor mount and struggle with it, none of that. The way I do it, don't take my word for it, but as seen on the G-Splitters channel. Yeah. You always want to clean your head before you put your new gaskets in there. Just make sure it's a nice clean surface. You don't gotta get all crazy with it, like with a scraper or anything like that, because those multi-layer steel gaskets do a pretty good job. So let's see here. This header here, I'm gonna put it in just to kind of make sure it's gonna go in and everything, but I'm gonna put it in, I'm gonna mock it up, and then I'm gonna mark wherever I want my bung for my air fuel ratio gauge to go for the O2 sensor, and then I'll pull it back out and then drive over to the muffler shop and have it welded. So we might not finish this job today, so we'll see. All right, a moment of truth. Come on, go in through the top. Also, let's see. Ta-da! And that's how you get Stainless Works long tube headers into a 6th gen Camaro, on the floor, on jack stands, no lift required, good old elbow grease on your back, and elbow, yeah, that's what we call it, elbow grease on your back, and yeah, you guys are a witness. They went in. Pretty sweet, huh? Okay guys, before we get too ahead of ourselves, let's not forget to put the valve cover back on ASAP, because we don't want to risk anything falling in there and causing us a bigger problem down the line. So right away, I just put it back on right away. Super easy. Can't mess it up. Okay guys, so as you guys saw, I just secured the headers. One thing that I forgot to mention is that before I secured the headers, I actually lowered the engine down, and while the headers were in there, of course, loose, and then I secured the motor mounts, because I needed to kind of play with the header, shift them around so I can get a long extension with the socket into the motor mount so I could tie it up. And then once I tied the motor mounts, then I went ahead and secured the long tubes. All I need to do up here is basically reinstall the coil packs, the spark plugs, the wires, the air intake, 2 bolts that hold the intercooler reservoir, and that's pretty much it. So I'm gonna stop here for now, because I really want to go to the muffler shop and get a bung welded on my exhaust. Alright guys, this might be super windy, but I just want to let you guys know that we actually made it to the muffler shop right at 5. So they're about to close, but they're the homies right here, so they always take care of us, and they're gonna get that welded up for us. Alright guys, we made it to the muffler shop. They welded that bung for us, and we should be able to finish this project today. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes another episode here on the Juice Footage Garage. So as you guys can see, we successfully installed stainless works long tube headers on jack stands, no lift, one person job. We didn't have to remove the starter, we didn't have to remove the motor mounts, anything like that. We simply just loosened up the motor mounts, loosened up the transmission, raised the engine slightly up, and we removed the passenger side valve cover, the steering column on the driver's side, and these headers went in from the top pretty easy. One tip I do recommend if anybody's gonna tackle this job on their own merit, of course, always make sure to tie the motor mounts back on. Secure the nut back when the headers are still loose, because or else you're gonna have to take the headers off again to move them out the way and secure the motor mount. But aside from that, pretty easy job. I actually, while I was here, I actually ended up removing the E85 sensor. It kind of cluttered up this little area here, and it was getting too close to the blower, made me uncomfortable, so I actually removed it. We're not running E85 on this car right now, so you know we don't need it. And yeah, so that's that. I'm gonna end the video here. Hopefully on the next video we go ahead and swap out the drive shaft and finish putting the X pipe, and then we could hear how it sounds, and hopefully it sounds a little bit better. Not too loud, but yep, that's it guys. It's another episode here on the Juice Footage Garage. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and we'll catch you guys on the next video.